Hey guys, it's Haley here. There is a special important information at the end, just a warning for anybody who may be coming to do this for guidance, maybe for yourself, a friend, or maybe you just want to be educated. There are resources out there for you. So if you are interested in that, it's at the end of the podcast episode. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope you guys enjoy.
What? Hey! I didn't know you were going to be here. Come play with me. Come on, the game's over here. Hurry up before we miss them. Come play Two Forks and an Anthill.
What does Two Forks and an Anthill even mean anyway?
Hello, welcome to Two Forks and an Anthill.
I'm Maddie.
I'm Haley, and today we are joined by a mother of two. Her name is Becca Tibus.
Hello.
Yep.
Oh, we're doing last names. Shit. No, I'm
Do you
kidding.
want me to
No,
give
no,
you
no,
her?
I don't care. I don't care.
Actually, that's a question that I have for later.
No, it's okay. I'm not going to be like talk. I mean, my story's my story, and I
Yeah.
would like write a book about it and use my
Yeah.
name. So
Okay.
don't worry.
All right. I probably should have asked about that.
No, it's
prior
okay.
to.
You did not. Oops, you're good.
Okay. So to start off, we're going to start off with our mind of matter. So what's going on in everybody's daily lives?
Well, I just went back to work like a week ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so weird having to actually do things after not doing anything for like 4 months. And like the whole restaurant industry is so different now. And it was funny because the first 2 shifts that I worked, it was just like awkward. Like I didn't really know what I was doing, half-ass, like fake it till you make it type of stuff. And then yesterday I was working and I was hosting, and hosting is like my shit. I don't know what it is. I'm like I don't know. When I'm
Really?
hosting, yeah.
I hate hosting.
I'm
Like, I
a
don't
really
hate
good
it.
host. I'm a really good host because
I'm just so bored.
that's the thing is when you're hosting at my restaurant, you're hosting your food running. I was taking orders yesterday, and how everything is set up now, we do tip share instead of like you get tips for whatever your tables are. So I was dropping off water to one of my coworkers' tables, and she started like giving me her order, and I just like took it, and then I walked right over to a computer, and you don't have to swipe in or anything, and I just like put the order in, and I was like, hey, just so you know, like she got a lemon drop and like got this and that, whatever. And it was just like really cool because like that feeling when you're like on top of it and you're just like doing a really good job.
You have the rhythm.
Yeah, I got that. And I literally walked up to my manager and I was like, I'm back on my bullshit. She's like, yeah, Maddie. And then I needed to like get a little card to like swipe in. And this was the first shift that I've worked with like my favorite manager. And she literally texted me a picture like an hour after I got off work of my little card, and it says Battison on it. And like pretty like squiggly font. I'm like, I love you. Like I missed my job so much. So that's my little life update, and what's taking up space in my brain is being back at work and being really happy about it. So
Nice.
yes,
Nice.
10 out of 10.
Becca.
Oh, jeez. Well, I mean, yeah, it's just a weird time because, like, right now, normally I would be super busy with work and not really having time to be like social and all that stuff. And because I work with schools and the climate of everything right now, it is so slow, which
Yeah.
gets me a little worried. But then, like, I don't know. It's kind of nice too because I'm
Yeah.
able to enjoy my summer too.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. But yeah, that's just
It's a fun time. That's what you're doing. For me, I just started a job at a bar and grill, and I'm a barback, so that's really fun. Honestly, I like barbacking a lot more than I like hosting because I literally get so bored that I start bussing tables, and we're not not that we're not supposed to, but like it's usually only if we're busy.
Yeah.
And the servers are like, "Oh, thanks," and I'm like, "Yep, I'm bored as heck."
Yeah.
And all the barbacks and all the bartenders are like, "Traitor!" And I'm like, "It's not my fault. I wish I was over there." But not to toot my own horn, but I think I'm one of the best barbacks that they have because the other ones are 16-year-olds and can't close, and they're just not.
Why can't
Smart.
they close?
Because it's like their first job. So
they
think
can't
about like
work
what
past a certain time.
Yeah.
Oh.
When you're younger than 18, you can't. There's
Yeah.
like a time limit that you can
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I've never
Legally.
listened to that.
I was 14 working until like, I mean, it was with my dad, granted, but
Yeah. Yeah, but
hours that I worked when I was younger were ridiculous.
I mean, they literally like don't do anything either. Like they're not stupid. I've said this before because I don't call people stupid, but their skills on problem solving, common sense, and observation not developed.
Yeah.
So
Well, you almost have to go through your first job. Like, I learned all
Yeah.
that stuff when I was at the arcade,
yeah,
and then they made me a manager, and I was like, oh, this is how you deal with bitchy customers. Got it, cool. And then I went to the nursing home, and I was like, this is how you deal with bitchy family members. Got it, cool. So like
Yeah.
yelling at someone to put a mask on, I got it.
at my first job, literally I was the one that they sent to do everything. Like I was sent, like I was a manager by I was 16, like, but I was like a micromanager. Like that sounds bad, but literally like before they would go to the managers, they'd go to me, be like, hey Haley, like how do you do this? How do you do this? How do you do that? Like they would send me to the counter if like it was like somebody else, like one of the newer, they're like, hey, like this customer is really complaining about not getting their ranch or something. I'd be like, hi, like how can I help you? And then I'd be like, okay, let me pass you off to a manager if they really needed it. But
Yeah.
maybe I'm just a badass. Maybe that's it.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Work.
It's just,
love work.
yeah, but that's kind of what's going on at work for me. And that's,
I find it funny how if we were to have this question, because this is the first time that we've asked this question on the podcast, if we would have asked it like a couple weeks ago even, it would have been so different. We all just
Yeah.
answered with work.
yeah.
Well, I think you kind of set the tone for it too. I mean, I
Yeah.
could be talking about my kids or
Yeah, and you
you
can.
know,
I mean,
like-
we have like 15 minutes to talk about whatever we want to talk about.
Yeah.
So, to jump in, today's episode is going to be about teen pregnancy and being a young mom. And Becca, you were a young mom.
Indeed, I was. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I was young, but I wasn't
Young.
young. I mean, I was not a teenager, believe it or not.
How
but
old
I
were you?
was 20.
20?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I was 20. My friends
I
were
still feel like that's
turning 21 as I was
shockingly.
delivering.
Mhm.
It was quite awesome. I'll tell you more about that later.
Oh,
that was
gosh.
fun.
So, to start out, just the basics. How old were you when you found out that you were pregnant?
So I was 20.
You were 20?
I was 20 because I was, obviously 9 months of pregnancy. And then I delivered in November, and then in March, I turned 21.
Okay.
So,
Wow.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
So, where were you at, like, with your life plan, like college, career, friends, traveling?
Yeah, like what's the backstory of what your life
Yeah.
looked like
Yeah.
Prior to-
pre-Bella?
So yeah, my life was actually it was at a crossroads really at that time anyway. And I was going to community college because when I graduated from high school, I knew that I wanted to do something art related, whether it be interior decorating, or design or photography. And at the time I was working since I was 15 at a photography studio, but I wasn't quite sure the route that I wanted to go. So I did 2 years of OCC, and I finally decided, okay, I want to do photography. This is where my passion was. And so I started applying for art schools. And I had gone to New York, fell in love with Parsons. I didn't know if I wanted to do FIT, Parsons. And then I applied to a couple other art programs. I think there was one in North Carolina. And then I applied to College for Creative Studies, which is in Detroit. And I had gotten a scholarship to go to New York. So my plan at the time was, now this was sophomore year of college, it was when I found out I was pregnant, it was like end of sophomore year of college. And
So fun spring break.
that's where I got pregnant. That was in Toronto.
Fun spring break.
Yes. Yeah. It was crazy. And it was one of those moments too where like I came back from the trip going, something's different, which is
Yeah.
weird. But so I had gotten into Parsons, and I got a scholarship, partial scholarship. And so my plan was, oh my gosh, I'm going to move to Manhattan in the fall. Like I'm literally, and which was
You're
one of my
gonna do the damn
dreams,
thing.
because my dream was to be a fashion photographer. So that's where everything was. And I didn't know people out there. I was getting, I was kind of doing a big leap. And then I found out I was pregnant, and that all changed. Pregnant.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew, okay, so obviously, you get pregnant different ways, and not different. I mean, everybody gets pregnant the same way, but I mean, like beforehand, I was on the pill, and then shortly before the trip, I just slacked and forgot to pick up my pill, and I was like stupid and young and going, oh well, it takes a while to get out of your system, so I'll be okay for the trip, kind of thing. Yeah, no. And I didn't tell my boyfriend at the time either that I was off the pill. So that was, I mean, dumb. And
like when you say that, you mentioned that something was different, because I know obviously everyone who's sexually active and like in their 20s, you're like, oh my God, it's a pregnancy scare. Oh my God, it's a pregnancy scare.
Well, yeah.
But what was different? Like, what was the first sign that you were like, shit, maybe something went wrong? Did you like miss your period? Like, what was the first sign that you were actually pregnant?
So yeah, first sign, and I am regular to the T. Like, I never had to use an app. Like, I could just look at my calendar and be like, oh, yep, I'm starting tomorrow. Like, very, very regular. And so coming back from the trip, I just had that mindset. It wasn't, oh, I'm pregnant. It was this trip changed me somehow. That's the mentality that I had, but I had no clue, what it was.
It was just like, nah, something.
Yeah, like, did I do something stupid where I'm going to get in trouble? Because I mean, I was, going to clubs and smoking pot, and but then I missed my period, and I chalked it up to being like, oh, well, I went off my pill. Am I just trying to catch up? So then I missed it again. So month 2.
Yeah.
And then my boyfriend was like, I obviously was open with him, and he was like, you got to take a pregnancy test. You have to take a pregnancy test. And so I picked up like one of those 3-packs and picked it up and took the test, and it changed right away. Like, you're pregnant right away. And I was in such denial. I was like, this is wrong.
There's no way.
Right. And so, and I remember specifically, we were at his mom's apartment in the bathroom. And so I took another one, and it changed right away. And then I took another one, and it changed. And I was in tears and still in denial to the fact that I was like, I am making an appointment at Planned Parenthood, and I'm going to get a professional opinion on this, because I didn't believe it.
Yeah, and I think that's funny because I don't know if we've mentioned it before, but part of the reason we want to do this podcast is when you're younger, you have an invincibility complex, for sure. You're like, there's no way that this bad thing is happening to me right now, which is why I asked about like the differences, because I know, like, obviously I've been in relationships before, and I've never actually had like a positive pregnancy test or anything like that, but it's definitely been the type of thing where I'm like, there's no way, like, no, like, definitely not, like, it's fine, I'm just late, and luckily I have just been like late or whatever, but I don't know.
Can I ask, what was your self-concept like? Like, what did you think you could do? Like, what was your self-concept before you were pregnant? And, like, what do you think your self-concept was, like, when you realized, like, you got the no denial, like, from Planned Parenthood, like, yes, you're pregnant and you're, like, 4 months pregnant. Like, what was your, like, how did it change? Because obviously it did change, but before and after, like, what were the biggest changes?
Before I got pregnant, I was living at my parents'. I was, I don't want to say I was privileged, but, I mean, I was. My parents, were paying for me to go to school. They were going to pay for me to go to art school. I had a job, but my parents paid for my car, I paid for gas, anything else I wanted. But like, I'd have me, so I didn't have any sort of responsibility. And I also had this weird feeling, and this happened, gosh, even in high school, when my friends would talk about their dreams and what they wanted. For some reason, I couldn't see my future past 21. Hindsight 2020, I wonder, you wonder why. I had a kid at 21. So I couldn't, like, my friends were like, oh, I'm going to be traveling. I want to travel to Europe by the time I'm 21, or I want to start my first job, or I'm going to be going to med school, or all that stuff. And I was like, I don't know. But I also did have, like, you said, an invincibility. I mean, I was partying, and not crazily, but I mean,
but shit happens. You're
right.
young.
My friends were in college, so on the weekends, or away at college, so on the weekends I was going to to visit them at Michigan State and U of M and Western and all of that, and just not having really a care in the world. And then when I found out I was pregnant, so obviously I was in denial until I went to Planned Parenthood. And they took a urine test and a blood test. And of course I was pregnant right away. At least in my experience, and it could be different from anybody else, they shove abortion in your face.
Yeah.
So, and I was so confused. And now, granted, I grew up Catholic. I mean, even in the beginning of high school, I was like, I'm never having sex until I'm married. Well, obviously that changed, right? And then it switched to, well, I'm pro-life. When I, and then until it happens to you and you're put in that situation where you have to make the decision. So I'm sitting at Planned Parenthood and they're handing me pamphlets and they're basically like, well, we'll make an appointment for you. And so I walked out of there with an appointment to get an abortion. Not really 100% sure that I was going to do that, but also going, well, at least I have that option. And it was actually my boyfriend at the time. He was the one that said, I know you, and I know when you get into that doctor's office for your abortion, you're not going to go through it anyway. So you might as well cancel the appointment. We can get through this, no matter what. We'll, figure it out. I'm going to be in the baby's life. No matter what, we'll get through this. And so then I canceled the appointment. And then I had to deal with having reality set in of, oh shit, what's my life going to look like?
What was your first, obviously your first thoughts was straight fear, denial, everything. But when you really had to set in and realize you had to start telling people, like your family, your parents, your friends, whatever, what was your first thought? Like, what was your first, like, how did you play it through your mind a million times? Did you talk to people? Like, did you act it out with your boyfriend at the time? Like, how did you get the strength to tell anyone?
Right. So my friends were the first ones because they were definitely the ones that I knew they're my peers, right? So they were going to be the most comforting.
They're not going to judge you.
Right. And they were awesome. They were totally cool and like.
Are they still in your life today? Like the friends?
Some of them are, some of them aren't. And yeah, I mean, I had a good group of high school girlfriends that we stayed in touch in college. And then I think like maybe actually it was 4 of us. I remember at the time I was at my friend's apartment. 4 of us. It was one of my best friends and her sister, and then my 2 other best friends. I'm still friends with my 2 best friends. I'm not friends with the other one and her sister.
Gotcha.
For different reasons, nothing to do with pregnancy.
But so they were supportive.
Yes.
And the best friends that they could be.
How do you think, for people out there, if your friend told you they were pregnant at such a young age, what do you think would be the most supportive thing to do as a friend? Because I know I've been through the situation a few times, and I don't think I've handled it well any of the times.
Sorry.
Like, even just like buying the pregnancy test with a friend. Like, I had one friend buy it from the Dollar Tree.
Yeah.
And we did it in an Ulta bathroom, and I was just sitting there straight panicked, not knowing what to do, because I have personally, like, I've been around a lot of kids in my life, and being an older sister, you kind of take on a very early age of mothering. And I was like, I cannot imagine you, my friend that I was like with it when I was like 16. I was like, I can't imagine you as a mom. Oh my God, you're going to kill this child. Like, how do you think it would be a good idea to, as a friend, to be as supportive and not do what I do?
First, as a friend, your first train of thought is, holy hell, your life is completely changed. So it kind of automatically goes to the negative. And what people don't understand is, yeah, it's a struggle, but no matter who you are, your life is life's a roller coaster, right? So you're going to have, whether you get pregnant young or you lose a job or you lose your house or somebody that you love and, dies, things happen in your life. This is just a bump in the road. So I would suggest, first of all, being loving and supporting them, no matter what, what their decision is, what their circumstance is, and let them know that you're not losing me as a friend. Yeah, your friendships change, quite a bit, especially because everybody is doing different things than you are when you're pregnant or have a kid and that kind of thing. But You know, I remember telling my sister is one of my best friends, and her first reaction was she started absolutely bawling, just bawling, and then talking about all the things that are going to change in my life. And I love my sister, and she normally is not like that. She normally is super, super upbeat and, oh, don't worry, we're going to get through this. And the fact that she was crying and going through all the things that I was going to lose out on was like, and then she like stepped back and she's like, I'm so sorry. Like, we'll get through this and I'll help you. And then the next struggle was telling my parents, which.
Is that the way you dread the most?
That's, yeah. So when we told my boyfriend's family, they were very different. They were a divorced family. His mom got pregnant when she was younger. So they were like, oh my gosh, congratulations. Almost like we were married and announcing a pregnancy.
How long were you together at that point?
So I met him my senior year of high school. So we were together like 2.5 years.
Okay. So it had been a minute.
Right.
So,
and it was my longest relationship ever. Yeah. And so we had definitely talked about like when I was going to go to New York, he would have met me out there afterwards and that kind of thing.
So you had long-term plans. It wasn't like,
right.
Gotcha.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Telling my parents was by far one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life. But also one of the best outcomes of my life. Yeah. Because we were thinking, okay, my parents are going to kick me out of the house. There goes, you know, I mean, they were paying for my car, my college. So I'm going to be a college dropout. I'm going to work as a waitress for the rest of my life, or not my restaurant, my life, but at least for the next couple of years to afford college. You know, that's where I thought my life was going to go. We were going to get an apartment, all of that.
How far along were you when you told?
4 months.
4 months. Okay.
4 months.
So you weren't showing or anything yet? Or if
you were starting to a little bit. And the funny thing is when you're pregnant, you sleep all the freaking time. Like you're exhausted, especially the first trimester. So I was sleeping all the time. I was stressed. I was eating. So I kind of hid the physical signs of it, you know, that kind of thing.
But it was still, if you paid attention to what was going on, it was pretty obvious.
Right.
Like, why are you wearing a sweatshirt? It's 90 degrees out.
Right.
You're like, don't
It's
worry
comfy,
about
okay?
Yeah, like I definitely, and I mean, this is late 90s too. So, you know, crop tops and that I didn't wear that kind of stuff anyway, but
you missed,
yeah. And you have to understand too, I'm the youngest out of 4. All of my siblings were very successful. Well, pretty much successful. But I mean, they all were out of the house. Well, my sister had just moved back in to get her PhD. But I mean, she was getting her PhD and she had lived in Europe, and I was I was the black sheep of the family. You know, I had gotten into a little bit of trouble when nothing bad, not legally, but you know, just didn't have the greatest grades because I was more art minded and all that stuff. So telling my parents were 100% Catholic, you know, I went to Catholic school for 12 years. So thinking not only on the religious aspect of it, but they were also very, very conservative and very strict with me. You know, when I would get bad grades at school, I was grounded for a month.
Yeah.
You know, so it wasn't like, oh, they weren't I couldn't really talk to them, if that makes sense. I talked to my sister. My sister was literally like my parent confidant in a way. So telling my parents was probably one of the hardest. My sister, you know, basically was like, okay, I'm going to be here for you. I'm not, you know, like I'll just kind of stay upstairs, but I'll be here for you. And I brought my boyfriend and we sat them down. I was so nervous and they could tell like I was about to like drop a bomb on them. Mm-hmm. And literally I was like, we're pregnant. I said, I remember we're pregnant. Like
it wasn't just a me thing. Yeah. He was also involved.
Yeah, right,
I don't know if you
takes
take
two
that up.
to tango.
Yeah. You're like, I promise you, it wasn't just by myself. He was involved. He was there the whole time. I swear.
The blame, the guilt has to go 50-50, okay? It's not just me.
Yeah,
it's not just me.
Trust me, if I could do like the Virgin Mary excuse, I would have at that point.
You're like, little do you know, Catholic parents, Jesus in my stomach.
It's crazy.
So
You should actually be happy for
The
me.
newest testimony is coming.
So yeah, I mean, literally. So I'm like, we're pregnant. But then instead of just stopping there, I was so nervous. I was like, but don't worry, we're gonna get an apartment, and I'm gonna.
So you started.
Like
you
I
were
started going
like
with
you
my
had
plan.
a plan.
Like okay, like I'm gonna do this, and
It's gonna be fine. You should,
yeah.
Just
Don't
like
even.
word
I'll
salad.
literally. I'm gonna work at the photography studio and get a serving job and do this and do this. You know what? Screw it. Let me just backtrack. The kid is actually not mine. Believe it or not.
Well, and I think that when you're going through hard times, because I've also been in similar situations where if you have to tell somebody something hard, you kind of just want to fill the space with a bunch of nonsense bullshit just to prolong the time of them reacting and knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yep.
if I just keep talking, I don't know what they're thinking yet. It doesn't matter. It's just the weird
And
middle
by that
ground.
time, they'll calm down from their anger. So, also on top of this,
Let me tell you about the salad that
let
I
me
had
tell
earlier.
you, every moment that happens since I'm 4 months. So, first things first, we were in Canada, spring break. Apparently, it's as crazy as they say.
I did not give them details. I drank a lot of Purple Rains, and RJ left me in the car while he went to different clubs to get weed. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, it was a great time, honestly. He is very responsible, and he will be the father of my child. Okay, your reactions, please.
The bloodline is pure.
I'm prepared because now that my hole is already so deep in bullshit. Please give me your reactions. And what were they? Like, how did they?
Oh, no. My dad looked at RJ. RJ is my boyfriend and my baby daddy, and literally pointed at him and said, you need to get out right now. This is a family matter.
But like, I don't know if you noticed.
We're all family now.
I did say we are. The contraction of were is we are. So it kind of has to be family now.
That's kind of where I like mindset. I'm like, but, and then I was like, okay, my security blanket just got kicked out of the house.
Oh, I
Yeah.
would be. If I was him, I'd be like,
I
I
was
will
like, my
go get the
parents are gonna
shovel
beat
for
me.
myself, sir, and start digging. I will take my grave.
6 feet, you say? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be outside when y'all are done with this talk. I'll just lay down.
Yeah. Just honestly, I'll dig my own grave. Just tell me when you want to come out to shoot me and put me in it.
I'll fill the death certificate out prior to and sign it.
I will make sure that there is no legal action taken against you, sir. It would be my dying wish, and they can't deny that.
Anyway, so kicked him out.
Door closed.
Where'd he go? Did he just like sit outside?
Yeah, like he literally. Well, I didn't know. I mean, okay, this was right when like cell phones started to like kind of. I did have a cell phone, but they were, texting was not a thing.
Yeah.
We didn't text, and so I didn't. At this point, I was like, okay, I don't know where he's going, but I kind of knew, knowing him, like he was either going to sit in his car or he was going to drive around. He was going to wait around until
He'd
I
be
called
there
him
for you
back.
when-
Right. So
He didn't just like dip. All right, bye.
He's like, cool. So with that
You
said,
got this?
I'm
You got
not
this?
coming back. I know I said that I'd be here for you, and I'd be in the baby's life, but that scared me. So I'm shaken. It might take. Give me a minute. I'll be back, but like I don't know when.
So the door closed, and it was like my parents were on the same page. So, and I never asked them this, like if they knew prior to, because it was like my dad started speaking and my mom was agreeing with everything. So I don't know.
I feel like we talked about this last night, actually. Funny that you
kind
say
of knew.
this.
I never actually, I mean, I'm now 18 years later or 19 years later. And I'm like, oh no, 18 years, 19. Bella's 18. I was pregnant when I was, 19 years later.
Like, let me just add up these.
See,
quick.
that math, not very
1,
good.
2, 3, quick maths.
I got you.
So basically they were like, nope, you're going to live here. You're not moving out. You're going to live separately. You're going to see if CCS, because I had gotten a scholarship at CCS too. They're like, see if CCS will hold your scholarship for a year. You're going to have the baby. The following year, you're going to go to college. You're going to finish college. And then after that, whatever you want to do, figure it out. But you're not getting married. You're not moving out or anything until you are done with college. You're not going to be that kid that is forced to. And at the time, I was still super angry.
Yeah.
But I think because, number one, I was thrown off about their
Yeah, you're not.
thing.
Yeah.
But then my mentality was, okay, now I'm going to be independent. And then Is that weird? Like
you almost lost it.
I
It was
lost
almost
my
like the
independent-
silver lining. Like, oh, I'm gonna move out. I'm gonna make it work for myself. And then your parents are like, nope, you're staying here so we can make sure that you don't do some dumb shit.
right.
Yeah.
So then that night, like, I'd go, it's kind of all a blur. Like, I don't remember like how we kind of ended the conversation, but I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to go to my girlfriend's apartment now just to like kind of decompress and hang out with them.
You're like, I need my
And
space.
this was the same apartment with my girlfriends that I had originally told were all going to be there because they knew that was the night that I was telling my parents, and my parents wouldn't let me leave. And then the shit hit the fan. Like, I remember screaming on the top of the stairs, like, you're holding me hostage. And like,
Oh my God.
like, so at that point I was more angry again, losing my independence. Like they were,
especially because everybody this age, especially with Corona and all the people in college having to move back home when they're like 23 and they're like, dog, I don't even want to be here. Like,
Yeah.
when you are 18, 19, 20, like through there, you do not have the ability, I mean, you do, but you don't, to like, it's not an easy ability to move out, and you want nothing more in your life than to move out.
right. And so I mean, it totally, it changed not only the moving out, but like the fact that they were making me stay that night and all of that stuff.
Do you think that they reacted the way that they did? Because you mentioned that they were like conservative, and I'm assuming pro-life.
Yes. Very pro-life.
So were they almost proud of you for making that decision to cancel the appointment and to not have an abortion? Do you think that shifted anything?
They never knew.
They never knew.
I mean, they didn't. They know. I think they know now. I think my mom and I had a conversation, but they never knew that I had that appointment.
Gotcha.
Sorry,
So-
Mom. You do now. If you didn't.
Yikes. So your relationship changed the beginning of that night, obviously. How did it change a lot, or was it just something that you saw was changing, but it didn't really change that much, but it was more of like you were sensitive to change?
Yeah, I think it was more I was sensitive to the change, but I didn't know how much it was going to change until Bella was actually born.
Yeah.
That's when the huge shift started, and it was rocky. So before I get into that, I'll say that, you know, the more I accepted it, you know, the more things got easier. The pregnancy definitely got easier. I had a really easy pregnancy too, where I didn't have like morning sickness or anything like that. I mean, I did get faintish if I didn't eat. But I was also like 115 pounds and I was gaining like 15 pounds every 2 weeks. Like I was 185 when I delivered. But after that, the switch changed as far as support. So I was really fortunate as to, it was weird because, you know, when you're pregnant, especially with your first, people throw you a baby shower, right?
Mm-hmm.
And usually you have maybe 1 or 2. I had 8.
8?
I had 8. Nobody wanted to like really throw a big one because it wasn't a huge celebration, right? But they also wanted to do something.
Yeah.
So literally
Show their
my
support.
friends threw me one. My baby daddy's mom's family threw me one. Dad's family threw me one. My sister threw one for like my aunts and my cousins. Then I had my mom's like girlfriends, like neighbors threw me one. I mean, like everybody, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
Really shows
and
the support.
It really did. But like literally towards the end of my pregnancy, I had 8.
Yeah.
Baby. Like I was every weekend I had a baby
You're like,
shower.
I love seeing everybody else get completely sloshed around me for my child. So they're all drinking for 2 and 3. Like what? Must have been a fun time.
Actually, the only one that had drinking was my girlfriends.
Do
Everybody
baby
else
showers normally have?
No, not usually.
I was
They're
gonna
like
say, I
brunches.
don't-
Maybe
I don't
like
think-
mimosas.
My family does it so differently then.
Really? Yeah, I was gonna say. I was like, who drinks at baby
Yeah.
shower?
New girl
Yeah,
lied
that's
to me.
No, Haley, that's not a thing. You don't have open
Maybe
bar for
like
baby
mimosas
showers.
or whatever.
Oh.
They're like usually brunch things.
If I ever have a kid,
If
everybody is gonna get sloshed, but me, obviously, and whoever the baby daddy is, because he's gonna be being the mom of everybody, because I'm not taking care of shit yet. But I would love to see that. I'd be like, oh, you're drinking for 3, and I just like to see what stupid things people do,
Oh my god, that is so.
especially around a mom, because they'll be like, oh, I can't do this. You're gonna be a mom. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
oh,
No, it was actually really fun. So I didn't obviously have showers that people drank at, but you have to think too, like I'm pregnant. All my friends are 20 years old and Canada was a big deal. Guess who was the D&D every time?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
But it was so much fun. Like literally, I was 9 months pregnant in Canada on the dance floor, like shaking my huge ass belly, and like everyone's like,
funny.
you know, and then like the stories and all that
I
kind of
have a
stuff.
question.
That was fun too.
Did you ever pre-Bella birth pull the mom card on a friend where you're like, nope, I'm gonna be a mom, I know better type situation? Because I feel like if you're like, there's certain higher ranking cards for my friends that like if you are drunk and gonna do something stupid, like nurses, your friend that's an RN or gonna be an RN, ultimate hierarchy card where if you're gonna do something stupid, they're like, I'm a nurse, I know you shouldn't do that, and you're like, oh, your drunk mind, it makes sense. And
You're like,
right.
yeah, you're a nurse. Yeah, for sure.
Because you are a nurse, I'm not gonna jump off this balcony only because you're a nurse. When in reality, that's the only time to jump off the balcony because you have medical attention right away.
Oh my god. So
yeah,
did you like overly mom people?
I wasn't an overly mom, but I realized like I matured real quick.
Yeah.
So I wasn't a mom, but like I mean, there were certain situations that like I got annoyed. Now, granted, I had Bella in November. All my friends were turning 21.
I was gonna ask about that. What was the
Yeah.
delivery
So
like?
I had Bella November 30th. My best friend turned 21 December 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So literally I was giving birth giving birth to Bella, like pushing out a baby while they were out getting plastered at the bar. So when they came to the hospital to visit me and Bella afterwards, they were all like totally hungover. Totally hungover. And mind you, I did not have Bella with an epidural.
Oh god.
And yeah, and it was
So y'all are just all rough.
like, yeah,
You're
like
like
nobody-
holding this baby and you're like, all right, what are we gonna do now?
Nobody was at their best.
Friends
I'm
are
like, oh, you
hungover.
look just as good
push
as
a
I do.
human out.
They like walked in. I'm like, oh, looks like you were giving birth for about 24 hours, just
Yeah.
like me.
Exactly.
Honestly, that's such commitment to be that hungover after 21st and still coming to. I mean, I would, but like, also I'd be like, I'm gonna need a puke bucket for.
Oh, they
For
were
the
there for like
mom.
5 minutes,
Yeah.
and then they were like, we need food, greasy food, and I was like, thanks guys for the sentiment. Happy birthday.
They're like, can she stop screaming? And she's just sleeping.
No, she actually was in ICU at the time. Bella
Really?
was born with the cord wrapped around her neck, so
Oh,
she came out
really?
blue.
Yeah.
And she was so like my friends.
Riker was born with a knot in his umbilical cord. Like,
Yeah.
literally 1% chance.
It's yeah.
And nobody knew. I think Griffin was born with an umbilical cord around the neck too.
That's common.
That's so terrifying to me. All of the things, like you can be completely healthy throughout your entire pregnancy, but actually during delivery, there's so much shit that can go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that terrifies me the most, especially being a young mom. I don't understand how you could have dealt with that because you
Yeah.
just went through all of these life changes, carried this human for 9 months, and then you're going to pop him out or pop her out. And now there's
It needs immediate
like
medical-
complications and like, oh, you're gonna take this and like go take my child away, like, oh my god,
Yeah, I mean, all of my
Terrifying.
siblings, besides Vijay, were born with complications. Like Cooper ate his twin. Griffin was born like 9 weeks premature, like super premature, which is weird because he's 6'5" now,
Every preemie that I've known is like
super
super
tall.
tall.
Like, what kind of Captain America shit is that? I was born choking and not breathing, so the fact that I'm talking to a mic right now, kind of dope. Riker was born with a knot in his umbilical cord. Vijay was fine. The oldest was fine, I think. Could be wrong. He wasn't planned though, but that. Oops.
I think everybody knows at this point.
Yeah, I was the only one planned because I'm the best.
yeah, I was planned, and then because my brother wasn't, and then I was, and then both my parents got fixed right after I was born because I was an awful baby.
Was she a good baby?
So yeah.
That's a no.
No, actually,
Oh.
no. And I truly believe that you get what you can handle.
Yeah.
So Yes, she was really, really good. First of all, she was in ICU. And then like they needed to like make sure that like she was functioning, like she peed and pooped and ate
She was a
and all that kind
functioning
of
human.
stuff.
They did all the tickle on the
but
foot, the hand grabs.
She was jaundice, which means like your iron levels and all that kind of stuff were down. So they put you in front of the baby, like UV light. Well, they were really low. So when I was being discharged, they were like, "We're going to keep her here overnight," and I was like, nope. I'm not leaving without my baby. And so I ended up staying in the hospital, like a hotel room kind of.
Oh, I would
and
too.
like waiting and like rented a hospital room and like did not, and then left with her.
Is that common? Like for them to be like, okay, so you just had this one, but we're going to keep her for 3 days and yours go
Yeah.
home?
No, that's
like
yeah.
a babysitting
It's
service?
very common.
Yeah.
It's
The fact that they let me, I don't know. I mean, I was on Medicaid at the time too. So I think it was fair. I mean, people think that it's not good insurance. It actually really is. And they like paid for it.
Yeah.
So
Which is amazing
yeah.
because
And it was only one day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the day so mind you, she was born November 30th. We bring her home 2 days later. And so it's beginning of December and it literally was 75 degrees.
Oh my god.
It was beautiful, beautiful day.
That's awesome.
And
Yeah.
and I had, so the way we set it up where we put a crib in my bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
So she barely cried. I nursed her. So like she was great at nursing. She was such a snuggler, which if you know Bella now is so freaking funny because she's totally not that way anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, she literally, she was so good. I would bring her to, and I brought her everywhere, everywhere. And she would never cry. I mean, I would fall asleep with her, which is so bad. I would fall asleep with her, like nursing her at like 3 a.m. And she would just like snuggle up, never wake up. I had her sleeping at night within like 2 months.
When you were in public and you obviously were taking her everywhere, did you have any overwhelmingly good or overwhelmingly bad reactions that like impacted you or how you parented?
No, but I'm also oblivious to those kinds of things
Yeah.
too. I actually, the most if you want to call it discrimination, was when I tried to get her baptized. And
Really?
yeah,
Wouldn't they be like, let's save this child?
yeah, like
Let's
no,
get
like
this
literally the
child into
Catholic
heaven,
Church
put
wants
her
money.
in the bank.
So the fact that I wasn't married, I wasn't a I had become a parishioner. My uncle's a priest, so he was coming in to baptize her. Like they just kept on like giving me one thing after another, and like I ended up having to pay money and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it was ridiculous. But I think, and then even going to church with her was like more judgmental, which is part of the reason I left the Catholic Church. But yeah, I think I got more with that than like taking her out in public or that kind of stuff. Like I don't know.
So to bring back up the father, where was he when you were giving birth? Was he in the room?
Yes.
Was he
Yep.
terrified to come around your family?
No, he took it in strides. And then, yeah, we decided that, we didn't want any family besides each other because I chose it that way because I knew living with my parents, he was going to miss out on things too. Mm-hmm. So, and he was going to school too, at the time in college, at Eastern. And then as soon as I got pregnant, he quit college and took a job, which hindsight 2020, like my parents were both giving us an out. Like you have no excuse not to finish college. Mm-hmm. But he decided to quit. He actually got a really good job he was I don't want to say details, but he was part of a distribution company and he was really good at it. So sales, distributing and selling products. It wasn't anything illegal. I just don't want to give too many details on that, and he was really, really good at it. And then we planned it. He was allowed to stay the night occasionally, but he had to sleep in a separate room, which is really funny.
Yeah.
But, they were trying to
Yeah, they're like, we don't want
prevent
anything
another
happen
pregnancy.
again. Because, yeah, that's what you're in the mood for right after that.
And it's twins.
Right. But then when I stayed at his parents,
That's not how that works, and I know that's not how that works. I just want to put it out there. I'm not that dumb.
This is the licking of the lead walls.
Anyway,
I totally missed it. And then I had to think back, wait, what did, oh, Maddie. So then when we, and then when I stayed at his parents, we could stay together. Like they didn't care.
Yeah.
Again, like with the reaction of the
already too
pregnancy,
late.
like they were like, yeah, no. So
Like, if this happens again, I don't know what to tell you because y'all obviously didn't learn your lesson. Like,
and as she got older, like, and when I was going to school, I actually ended up staying weekends usually at their house. I used it as an excuse because his stepmom was went to CCS and was an artist as well, so and was in advertising. So I'd be like, oh, his stepmom's helping me with a project, and then it just became like weekend after weekend after weekend that I was there.
yeah. So he was super involved, and you ended up having like a part-time living gig at his house. And did he miss out on a lot, like on the relationship with Bella, like with
No,
your
no, no.
daughter,
He
or,
was
like, you?
super-
Like, how did it change from you being a non-mom to now you being a mom? And how supportive was he? Like, how much was he involved?
So he was actually awesome, and he would, especially in the beginning, I wasn't doing like a lot of like moving around or staying anywhere or whatever. But then as she got older and like when I was in school and stuff, like he always had her on, whether it depended on what my schedule was, like on Wednesdays, and he would take her to, his job allowed him to take her
That's
to work.
awesome.
And so like they would have their thing where they would go to like the mall. They would call it, depending on the mall, it was like the little mall, big mall, or small or huge mall. And they would like go do that, and like she'd run around in the little like play area, and they'd get lunch and all that kind of stuff. And he'd take her to accounts. And no, he was super, super involved. And I went to New York for school for like, a couple days, and did like a trip with my class. And he, like, it was Halloween weekend, and he took her trick-or-treating, and like, no, he was super, super involved. And now, mind you, the funny thing is, like, a little side note, when my parents were like, no, you're staying at home, a couple days later, I get a call from his mom, and basically she's reaming me out how much I'm ruining his life because he's not going to be living with his child, and like how bad this is. And, we're not going to make it because I don't have a backbone, and I'm going along with what my parents. And I basically was like, no, I'm going to be selfish. If he wants to have a relationship with his kid, this is not going to change. And my parents are giving me an out to like actually finish college.
Yeah.
I'm going to
doing
take it.
And she kind of backed up, but she made me obviously like feel horrible and all that kind of stuff. But I actually stood up for myself.
That's
and
good.
Was like, nope,
Yeah.
like I'm doing it this way. And it worked out great
How
for the time being.
How did because obviously you were 20 years old and you had to be completely wholly responsible for somebody else. How was the shift, not even just being pregnant, but actually being a parent at a young age? And how was his shift for being a parent at a young age?
Yeah, so
Was it just like normally ingrained in you, like after carrying a child, it just kind of happened?
I think it's different for everybody too. Like I also come from a big family, so I was always around babies. I babysat, all the time. So actually being, because some people get weirded out by like even like, oh my God, I can't even hold this baby, that kind of thing. That all came very naturally to me.
Okay.
And then being able to juggle, like even before I went to college, I ended up getting a job where I was a Marlboro girl.
Yeah.
So the timing was perfect. I would put her down to go to sleep. My parents would watch her, and I'd literally go work from like 8 until like 3 in the morning. It was also exhausting
I feel
because,
that.
she would be, wake up at like 6 in the morning, and I had to like
Go.
be an adult and be a mom and nurse her and feed her. And, and I also did things like I never bought baby food. I made all my baby food.
Would you recommend that for other
It's so
moms?
easy to me, and I don't have to worry about what I'm putting in I know exactly what I'm putting in my baby's body.
Yeah.
But it's not for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I did my second child, I did cloth diapers, pain in the freaking ass. I don't necessarily recommend that, but
Yeah.
great for the environment. Yeah, I mean, like I think, and then that way, like when she got older, she wasn't picky either
Yeah.
with the food situation. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I didn't really feel like it was a huge struggle. Where it was a struggle for me was feeling like I was missing out on a lot of things, like socially with my friends. They're away at school and, they're going to the bar and they're able to travel whenever they want. And
you're the
I
kid.
couldn't do any of that stuff.
How do you think that like shaped you and like realizing your opportunities in the long run? If that makes sense.
I think that was okay.
Like, did you seize the day more when you did have those opportunities that you could travel or you could go out? Not really.
No, I actually I was fortunate enough to, before I had kids, my parents took me everywhere.
Yeah.
So I feel like I really didn't miss out. Yes, would I have loved to travel more and like go visit my friends in California and all, yes. I think, but I made more excuses for myself. No, I can't do that because I'm a mom.
Yeah.
And I can't afford it. And those kinds of things, but I didn't let it bother me. Where I think the struggle is when I did get together with my friends, they were talking about all these crazy stories and all this stuff. And I was like, there was such a disconnect because I'm like, oh, well, I was up till 4 a.m. trying to breastfeed, or
You're like, Bella smiled today.
Yeah,
It was
right.
her first time.
Look at these
Right,
pictures.
right.
Yeah.
So I think that was being on a different playing field than my friends was probably the hardest struggle. Like not feeling like I could connect with what
They were
they
going
couldn't
through.
understand and sympathize with what I was going through, and then I looked at them with jealousy.
Yeah. Who do you think your biggest like rock throughout the entire pregnancy, birth, raising her? Who do you think your biggest rock was?
I mean, I have to definitely give credit to her dad, even though it didn't work out in the long run.
But you guys were
But-
still together for quite
Yeah,
some time after,
yeah.
which is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, and also the fact that he was so willing to be there, and he's like, "Yep, this is just as much as a two to tango situation."
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, he wasn't supportive of me necessarily going to school. He never wanted me to finish school. I don't know why, and I think it was just because I don't know. I mean, I could go into the whole like hindsight 2020, the psychological aspect of that, and now why I think that
Yeah.
he didn't want me to go to school. But so like every time I would do something with my college friends, or I'd stay late at school to work on a project, that was always a point of contention. But as far as raising Bella, no. I mean, there was never an issue. And he always said to, because you came from a way better family than I did, and granted, there are some great aspects of his family. I'm not saying that, but he just respected the way I grew up way more than he grew up. So he basically was like, I'm going to have you kind of make the rules. And then if I feel like there needs to be a discussion of, no, we shouldn't raise her that way, or no, we shouldn't do that, then I'll kind of interject a little bit. But we kind of were on the same path of, we got her baptized. Our thought was, we're going to get her baptized, but as she gets older, we're not going to go do, First Holy Communion or confirmation. And then as she gets older, she can. So we were on the same wavelength with those the major things.
Yeah.
And then there was also not the pressure, but we didn't want to be a statistic.
Yeah.
We wanted to hold together and stay together because we didn't want to be like, oh, teen pregnancy and they didn't make it.
Yeah, which is also so impressive. I couldn't imagine that turnout. Like, genuinely, like, a very impressive, because I've known people, and there's a lot of statistics out there of saying that they can't. So the fact that also your family and everybody was so supportive and, like, was there for you to, like, be able to finish school, be able to have a job, like, watch your kid, have you go on the trips to New York so you guys could figure it out. Like, that must have taken a lot of communication.
Yeah, for sure. And that was, and so it takes a village. It really does. No matter if you're married and having your first kid, or you get pregnant at 13, and I think this is the biggest stigma too with young pregnancy or any type of pregnancy, there's not a lot of education on you can make it on your own.
Yeah.
There are so many resources of, now granted, I did not have to do this, of, you know, trying to figure out ways to get diapers or have food or those kinds of things or find a place to live. But there are so many resources out there, and people don't talk about it. They just think they have to do it completely on their own. And even if you do it on your own, you may be on government assistance or those kinds of things, but you can get out of it too. I nursed. I nursed Bella till she was 6 months, and then by the time she got the bottle, she was like, "See you later."
Yeah.
And then I made her baby food. With my second, I did the cloth diapers, which saved a whole heck of, I mean, granted, it's a lot of work because you're constantly cleaning and, you know, that kind of thing. And if you're working and trying to do it, it
Kind of
might not be necessarily feasible for you, but it is doable. It also saves on diaper rashes and things like that too. So keep that in mind. But yeah, then you don't, you know, having a little, they call 'em Moses baskets. Like you can have a little Moses basket when they're first born. I had a pack and play. So the pack and play had a little, like kind of like a Moses basket attached to it, like a little bassinet, if you will. And then as she got older, this was at her dad's. Then we had it turned into like she slept in like the pack and play crib. So, and you don't have to do, I mean, you don't have to worry about getting a crib until they'll grow out of it at like 2-3 months.
Yeah.
Um,
As far as, because I know that there's a lot of misinformation and different opinions on like just being a mom in general, not even just being a young mom. How do you sort through all of that information, like co-sleeping, nursing? Because I know that there's a bunch of different misconceptions.
Oh yeah, you do what you can. You know, everybody's different. I will never mom shame anybody for, you know, I mean, it was my belief that, you know, if you could at least nurse for like the first couple days, because like there's a thing called colostrum, which is very, very healthy. It's the first thing that you produce before your milk. But I just kind of knew, okay, well, not having to buy formula also. Yeah. It's really good for the immune system. Babies usually don't, you know, get sick while they're nursing. I knew all this though too from like my mom and my aunts and things like that. Now, granted, they could totally have been pulling the wool over my eyes. You know, but you also do what
you do what you can.
You can.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend had twins and was literally not producing enough milk for her kids, and it killed her not to nurse them. Yeah. I mean, she literally had to. She was nursing them, and then she had a tube go in their mouths of formula. So she, like, as she was nursing them, they were getting formula too, because she was, and then she was like, "This is freaking ridiculous. I'm done. Like, I can't do it." Yeah. So, don't feel bad. Don't feel bad if you can't do it. Yeah. Don't feel bad if, I mean, there's great organic. When Bella was born, organic wasn't really big, but there are great organic baby foods or independent baby foods that you can do too. That also helps with health and well-being of them.
Well, I also found it interesting because I'm kind of gauging the type of person that you were when you were like our age. You seem to be more on the whole like holistic natural life.
Oh yeah, I was a total hippie.
Yeah.
Complete hippie.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
So when you said that you made your own baby food, I found that interesting because I feel like at that time that was kind of like nobody was doing popular. That. Yeah.
Yeah. And the funny thing is I kind of set the tone for all my friends too. Yeah. Like,
how did your lifestyle change, or did you just kind of like incorporate your lifestyle of like being like a hippie into being a mom and having that
I ended up being
approach?
more, it's funny because then I went to art school too. So I was like surrounded, but I was very different too because obviously the older I got, the more I think I'm never strict. I still have I feel like the hippie mindset of like,
buy local,
like, you know, that kind of stuff. Yeah. But like, I definitely got more conservative with other things. Like, and Carmelo and Bella are 7 years apart too. So I was definitely more relaxed with her. And boys and girls are different too.
Yeah, 100%.
When you raise kids, mind you, you kind of raise them pretty structurally the same, but you also understand that each child is different and learns differently too. So the way I talk to Bella is very different than the way I had to put more rules on him. Otherwise he would have gone crazy.
Yeah.
But Bella and I are also, I'm very close with both my kids anyway. But yeah, I don't know if I changed as a person. I definitely matured, like I mentioned before, very quickly.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you didn't really have an option.
Right. But then it was different because I had her, I was living at home. And then when I got married and moved out, it was a huge wake up call for me too, because now I'm paying my own bills. Now I obviously like living with my parents, I helped out by like helping my mom clean and cook and things like that. But if I didn't have time or couldn't do it, she was doing it. So going from that to being completely doing it on my own. Yeah. And I say that doing it on my own because my ex didn't do it.
Yeah, at that point.
It was very, very different. Money management was a huge, huge challenge for me when I moved out.
Yeah. Do you think that was like your biggest challenge that you faced?
Yes. Okay. So hindsight 2020, yes. I think, learning how to budget and being financially independent was one of my biggest challenges. But then I also think another challenge was because I was such a hippie and being like, okay, life's good, life's good, life's good. Learning when you actually know life's wrong and things need to change, being okay with that. I was so afraid to be like, my life's not okay and asking for help that I think that was a struggle for me.
I still cannot do that.
Yeah. Which is, I mean.
And I have nothing going on and I can't do it.
It's still hard for me to do that. Like when people are like, oh, let me do this, let me do that. And I'm like, no, I can do it quicker and better on my own. Yeah. I mean, that's just like a little thing. But like.
How did you improve that through this situation? Because obviously
I got
something.
a divorce.
Well, with that said. No.
Yeah, but then again, there was another time that forced me, because you have to think, I was the youngest out of 4. I got pregnant. I lived with my parents, my sister for part of the time. And then I jumped into getting married and living with somebody and then having 2 kids. So I never was on my own.
Yeah, I couldn't.
And my ex was right in the part when we were getting a divorce. I mean, there was equally things wrong with us, but one of his things was not that I relied on him at all, but he was basically like, you need time to be independent. Yeah. Like you need that.
Which I think everybody needs for sure.
Yeah. How did overcoming this really like affect your mentality as a mom and as a person of finally being on your own and you're like, okay, like we're restarting and this is the first time you were on your own. Like how did that affect your mentality and how did you get through it?
So the divorce part of it or moving out after my parents?
All of it.
All of it. So, moving out and like getting married and then moving out, I actually loved it. I loved being a wife. I loved being a mom. I kind of felt like, and so remember when I said in the beginning, I said I couldn't picture myself after 21. And that's why I honestly feel that's why I couldn't figure it out, because
you knew
God
that
or my vision was not going to say, you're going to be pregnant at 21.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and I kind of felt like this is me.
Yeah. But it wasn't like, because I know that normally when people say, oh, I can't picture my life after such and such age, it's usually like a mental health issue. It wasn't that. It was just like, it was just blank.
Yeah. No,
Gotcha.
And I would joke and I'd be like, I'll probably be dead. You're part of the 27 club,
But it wasn't because
I genuinely just have no idea.
Gotcha.
You're just like, I'm just, you know how like you could see the horizon? There's just a lot of fog.
No, literally, that's what it was. When people would ask me, like, I would just be like, oh, I'm going to school to be a photographer. But even in high school, I didn't know that. Like, I didn't know that.
You're just like, I'm just going to go to school.
I'm going to figure it out.
Figure that shit. I don't know why you guys aren't living in the moment, actually. Hold on. What?
Life is good. Life is
growing
good.
up so fast.
Right. No. And I was not the Martha Stewart mom either. Like, I mean, I birthday parties were a big deal for me, and I went all out with birthday parties. Like themed it up to the was like invitations were amazing. I mean, like Bella had like a Hannah Montana themed birthday party, and I did a photo wall like they were, you know how they do in Hollywood, like it had a red carpet and like she had a photo booth birthday party. She had a Harry Potter birthday party where I literally turned my living room into the potions classroom. So cool. But it wasn't like china cabinet. I mean, I cooked all the time. Like, my kids and I laugh because when we ended up moving out, losing our jobs, I loved to cook, but we had no money. Like literally, I could afford rice and canned goods and maybe, so I'd make stir fry. Mm-hmm. But I would make different ones, like I would call it Mexican stir fry because
just has peppers in it,
like beans and like it was kind of like a what are they, Spanish rice, like that kind of stuff. But I'd call it stir fry, and then we would get hot and readies because they're $5, right? Mm-hmm. And it was such a treat. And now, like my kids literally cannot do stir fry or fried rice. Carmelo can do it because he wasn't eating food at the time; he was still nursing, but. And then Bella, like, she's like, I can't even smell a hot and ready or look at stir fry. I'm like, I got you, kid. I'm the same way.
Like, you're like, I'm sorry.
Cannot do
Some trauma. Too much
that
stir
one
fry.
is on me.
But, and then when I got a divorce, as far as that definitely changed me. There's something about finally, because I've never, ever, and I recommend everybody do this, have time with yourself. Be okay with who you are by yourself. Because at that point I felt, you feel like you're a failure. That's actually the moment. I was always afraid to like screw up my kids. Obviously as mom, I'm still, having that fear. But I actually felt like I screwed it up, My divorce happened, 4 years ago. So after my divorce, I moved back in with my parents, which actually was really cool because another great thing that changed great with my relationship with my parents, my daughter and my dad have the best relationship,
That's
and
awesome.
my parents helped raise my kids.
Yeah.
Which is really, really cool. Like they're really close. Like my mom and my dad call Bella. I mean, Carmel's a little bit young now, but like weekly, like, how are you doing? They go they take her on trips and, like all my kids.
Because they have that relationship. But they helped raise Bella.
Yeah. And then when I moved
Carmelo.
back in, they had like, Bella was a senior in high school and
that's so cool.
Yeah. So we and then Carmelo got to experience it.
Yeah. So it's almost like they saw her when she was a child and then they also got to know her as a person.
Yeah.
And like actually getting to know, because Bella, I know that we're talking about her like she's a baby, but Bella's like one of the most strong, freaking beautiful.
She's a badass fucking bitch.
She's so badass. Like
she is, but she's also human too.
Yeah.
She
well, no, 100%, but like still like such a cool person because
like her loyalty is what I tell her this all the time. Like her loyalty is what literally I haven't seen anybody in my life that has the same loyalty as her. So to give it a transition to a more lighter-hearted topic before we end with our final story, can you tell me one song that resonates with you and why?
There's so many. I mean, I can literally. Obviously right now I'm listening because I am dating your dad. He takes aux all the freaking time.
Even when it's like not appropriate, I will be in the middle of playing a song and he'll just take it and stop. We will be singing
Tennessee
on
whiskey.
chairs, like in the middle of belting a song, and he'll just change it.
Yeah. And then like
it drives me nuts.
We'll be totally vibing a certain mood.
Yeah.
And then like all of a sudden he'll change it.
And it's always Tennessee whiskey.
Tennessee whiskey. Because he plays the same playlist and he doesn't shuffle.
Yep.
So the first song on the list is Tennessee whiskey.
Here's the thing though. I've also noticed Tennessee whiskey is the best transitional song to get out of a deep conversation.
Absolutely.
Because if you are getting too deep with somebody, that first bum,
bum, bum,
literally hits every time. Like I will be at work and we will all be stressed and literally it will hit on the radio and we all look at each other and we're like, oh, we're fine. We're cool. Everything's
all good.
fine. But yeah, Tennessee.
Life's good.
In case you guys ever need a transitioning song, play Tennessee whiskey. From a serious moment to a more lighthearted moment, you need to get out of that shit.
Yeah.
Tennessee whiskey.
Yeah, so it's hard, and the fact that your dad does not like British rock music, like, okay, so he likes Rolling Stones, granted,
Barely.
yes, Rolling Stones fine, but like if I play anything like The Cure, or even like a little bit like punky or anything like, nope, like
Nope.
cut off.
Dog, when
Cut
I was going through my sad boy emo phase, oh my God, he'd be like, why is your room yelling at me? Why is your room yelling at me? I'm like,
Why are you yelling?
Welcome to My Life by Simple Plan. There is no Screamo yet. If you want Screamo,
I can put on some Ghost Town
I
right
will.
now.
Yeah, dude. Sarcasm, like if I get scared, okay, bet. Like,
Yeah.
still counting. Volby, I'm coming for you. Anyway, sorry. Continue.
I don't know if it's a whole album, and I think it's like with everything that's going on. And you guys know I've played a couple of the songs, but George Michael's
Yep.
Listen Without Prejudice album. I swear to God, every song like hits me so much on that album. So I think it's the entire album, and I have it on vinyl, and I can listen to it without your dad, and he actually will listen to it with me, which is good. He will.
After a couple
but-
Manhattans, maybe.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, that entire album, and it's funny. I remember my sister bringing home the cassette tape when I was younger of this, and listening to it with her, and not really understanding lyrics. Like, of course, like Freedom. I don't know if you know George Michael's Freedom or whatever. That was my favorite song, but I was also younger and like, oh, I can dance to this. And then as I got older, like really listening to the lyrics, and it really has this like kind of wartime feeling to it too, and like mental and Civil War kind of mentality and I feel like that's what we're kind of going through right now, and it's so
definitely
good. Father's Pride, so good.
All right. So for our final story, let's ring it in. Our topic, we used a word generator, and our random word generator told us that we were going to tell a story about a guardian angel moment.
So I was really, 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 really close to my grandfather. I called him Nanu. So it's my mom's dad. I was really close to my grandparents anyway. But my grandfather, my Nanu, Carmelo, who my son's named after, just had this electrifying personality. My mom was born in Malta. So, my grandparents came over on the boat, total boater. If you think of like an old Italian man that gives absolutely no fucks, that was my grandfather. And so hardworking, such a great storyteller. Every story ended in, and then he died, the poor fellow. Like literally, it's a joke. It's a joke. So I was super close. I was fortunate enough, he got Alzheimer's, and I was like in fourth or fifth grade when he got it. And then I was able to go take him back to Malta, to his homeland, because when you get Alzheimer's, you always revert back to like your younger years. So when he was living here, he always thought he was in Malta, to say goodbye to his sister. We took him, and it was such a great trip. And then after that trip, he completely declined to the point where he would like do things like leave the house in the middle of the night.
That's scary.
So this is kind of a two-parter. So I always felt like we always had like guardian angels around us, guiding us. And one night when he was walking, he left in the middle of the night, and they lived like right by a service drive to an expressway. My Nana was sleeping, and he just leaves, and he's walking, and he's actually walking down the freeway.
Oh my God.
This was at like 3 a.m.
Oh.
Yeah. But he wasn't like walking on the road, like he was walking like on
the
the
side.
side,
Yeah,
but
still.
like he was still walking, and a
He
man,
still could be hit by a car.
right?
It's still dangerous.
Yeah, he had no shoes. Like, this was like he had a t-shirt, his
Yeah.
trousers, like literally no shoes, like wallet. He had his wallet with him, and a man stopped, and the man just happened to be coming back. He was a kind of a famous lawyer, working on like kind of a big case, and I'll just go with that. There's more details, and he stopped to find out if my grandfather was okay. My Nanu was okay, and my Nanu was talking Maltese. The man happened to be Maltese.
Oh,
No
my
way.
gosh.
And so he got him in the car. He
Full body
understood
chills.
everything. I know. I get goosebumps every time.
Also, the fact that the lights started flickering when we talked about
And
it.
I knew. I know, literally, like, I think he's around me all the time. And so the man got him in the car, asked him for his wallet. I mean, could have taken his money, but just like get his license to find out
just
where
happened
he
to
was.
have two. If he's walking around with no shoes, but he brought his wallet.
Yeah. I mean, this is, right? So, and like, my nana gets a call, like, basically, I have your husband. And she didn't even know he left.
Yeah.
She's like, you have who?
She was so thankful that he brought him home. She made tea, of course. My nana always made tea. I mean, this is 4 a.m. and like literally like thank this man. They were talking Maltese, where they're from. Like it was
That
like
is
this
so
amazing,
cool.
amazing experience.
That is the like
Isn't it crazy? And then my grandfather like
talk about a
died.
serendipity moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, my grandfather died like a couple months later of a heart attack, not even like of Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
And I think it was because he was like
It's declining. So
he knew
fast.
that it was his body's way of saying like, no, you don't want Alzheimer's is so bad that you can actually lose, like, forget how to go to the bathroom,
Yeah,
and forget
yep.
to eat. Like,
When I was working at the nursing home, it is
Yeah.
one of the most
So
tragic
sad.
things that you watch happen to somebody.
so then fast forward, I have Carmelo.
Mm-hmm.
I named Carmelo after him. In fact, they called when my grandfather came to Malta, his family called him Charlie, like it was more American, Charlie. And so when I named Carmelo, I was like, okay, well, if he doesn't really like, we can start calling him Charlie too.
Carmelo's a badass name.
No,
Yeah,
we
it
never
really
used
is.
Charlie. Never used Charlie. So he's always been Carmelo. He won't even let me call him Mello, like Carmelo.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
That's so funny.
Although his friends call him Carmel, which I don't know why, but I can't call my kid Carmel.
I wouldn't either.
So this was when he was just learning how to talk. And he was in the back seat of my car and he starts talking, like jibber-jabbering, which is like common, like when you like they'll talk to themselves or start saying things. And he goes, now mind you, he's just learning how to talk. I probably haven't talked about my nunnu to him specifically. I mean, I raised my kids with like always talking about our heritage,
Yeah.
but like
how was your nunu alive when Carmelo was alive? Like,
no, he died.
How-
My grandfather
what's-
died when I was in 6th grade.
Holy.
So this is like
shoot.
Yeah.
yeah. So this
So
is
it's not like it just happened. You were constantly talking.
no,
about it.
that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, I raised my kids with like knowing who their great grandparents were and their stories and things like that. And like, I up until just recently, they still had great grandparents.
Yeah.
They do on their dad's side, but yeah, I mean, we were really close. We always told stories, but I don't think at like 2 years old, he would comprehend. I don't think I specifically told him stories about his namesake at that point.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe he's heard things, but
Like in passing and
but by the name Carmelo, not even Nunnu.
yeah.
So he's talking, and like he's just saying weird like things, like the cat road sign, like whatever,
Yeah.
and like not even like saying it
Not in
clearly as I'm
words.
saying it, like
Yeah.
yes,
Like that
absolutely,
one
like
video-
Baba Goo Goo,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
You know,
And
like
he
that
goes-
one video with like the dad, and they're like watching like TV on the couch. He's like, "No, that's what I'm saying." The kid's like,
Yes.
and he's
I
like,
used to
"No,
do
I
that
know
all the
they
time.
shouldn't have done that." Like, love that video.
yeah, like Bella would like be like, ba, 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 and I'm like, oh yeah, and then what happened? And she'd like go on. I mean, I did that with all my kids.
Yeah.
But he's starting to actually be able to form sentences now.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I hear him like within this conversation he's having, Nunnu. And I turn down my radio and I go, Carmelo, what did you just say? And he goes, Nunnu. And I go, who's Nunnu? And he goes, he's here.
Oh my god.
And I was like, where's Nunnu? He's here. Where is he? He goes, here, sitting here. And I was like, I kind of like took a deep breath. Now, mind you, I'm driving. I can't get into an accident. I get goosebumps, chills all around me. And I just said, thank you, Nunnu. That's all I said.
I'm gonna cry.
And then he went back to like, Carmelo just went back to like gibberish or whatever. But like, I was just like, I'm going to cry. Like I totally believe in guardian angels. He
Yeah.
was surrounded with them. And I don't think he's with me all the time. I think like just giving certain signs. And you've talked about this with your grandfather, like him being.
No,
I
shit's
feel your
real.
grandfather
Shit's
here
real.
sometimes. Like,
100%. This isn't my story, but this is a story about guardian angels. This isn't the one I was going to share, but you're right. My aunt was upstairs cleaning, because we've had a range of people, like when my mom's sisters have moved a lot.
right?
And like,
yeah, it's an open door
almost-
policy.
yeah.
Anybody can live here, Maddie.
Hi.
literally
I lived here
anyone.
for 3 months.
And she was cleaning the boys' room, and Griffin and Riker, they were younger. I think Riker was, not Riker, Cooper was 4. Griffin was like 8. This is after Christmas. Like my mom was in the hospital for appendicitis, and I was handed a 5-month-old child when I was 11, and I was like, okay. So she was cleaning upstairs, and all of a sudden the boys were like roughhousing or something was going on, and the lamp in the boys' room started flickering and like popping. And so my aunt always says, my Aunt Pam, she's like, I know, like, your grandfather lives in that house, or something's in this house.
He's here every once in a while. I can feel him
100%.
too.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she was like, I know, I'll go check on them in a minute or something. And all of a sudden the lamp shade popped off, flew across the room, and the light popped. And she's like, oh shit, okay. And she runs outside, and the door was open, and Cooper was running, like going to run down the street type thing, and there was like cars coming by. It was like something
he was
was
alerting
going
her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like an alert. It was like, go check on the boys. And like, I don't know if it was he was crossing the street, but like something was going on where like it shouldn't have been. Like,
Wait,
either
no,
roughhousing.
wasn't it that he was
Somebody
on
was
the?
hurt.
He was grabbing knives.
Oh yeah, that happened all the time too. Like it was something
I think
like
it was
that.
something like that. but
Actually,
yeah.
that makes more sense. Cooper's, when he was 5 and younger, would crawl somehow, always get on top of the fridge, because we always put our knives on
How?
top of the fridge. I don't freaking know. Like he would
That's like-
open the fridge, climb up the fridge like Tarzan, or we always had a counter by our fridge and just pop up, and would take a knife and swing it around like he was Captain Jack Sparrow singing the theme song
From Pirates of the
of
Caribbean.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
I mean, look at the kid. Are you surprised?
No, not at all. Not at all.
But yeah, no, that's a real thing. Like
Yeah.
I
Oh my
believe
God.
that.
He
Like,
sits with me on the front porch. I know it. Like the
Oh, for real?
front light will flicker, and I'll go, "Sup, Mr. Matul?" Like,
no,
can I not
that's
say
he-
last name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Maddie, would you like to share your story before I apparently share my actual story?
I mean, yeah, I don't really, mine isn't as deep because, like I said, I don't really know my family that well. I'm sure I know that my grandpa Foster's around for sure, and I know that he's kind of always been like a guardian angel. But like for this one story that I know I should not be here right now. The fact that I'm
We know
talking
this.
into this mic,
This is facts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Bomb.
bomb. So, I mean, I kind of think that this was my grandpa Foster because he's the one that I feel like would really look out for me as far as like my family goes. And my dad has always told me, if he ever could have met me, my grandpa Foster and I would have been like the best, like super, super close. And, so I've, even though I don't really know what signs he's pointing or whatever, I just kind of know that he's around. Although I've never met him, obviously. So I was probably 3 or 4 years old, and I was living in a townhouse, and I was younger. My brother's 5 years older than me, and he was waving at his friend out of like a window with a screen. And me being the little sister copying everything that my big brother does, I like went up and I started waving out the window also, and then I completely fell out of this like second floor window onto concrete.
Oh my God.
And then I guess I was wearing like a tutu, and my
makes
dad
sense.
ran out of the store just screaming, like pushing past my mom, pushing past my brother, because I guess my brother just starts screaming, Madison fell out the window, Madison fell out the window, Madison fell out the window. And then I guess I was just laying there, and a lot of children die from falling out of the window, like falling out of windows. Like it's it's honestly a common thing, which I didn't know until recently. And I had a little bruise on my butt, and that was it.
How many feet?
It was a 2-story window on concrete.
Yep.
Well, a story is about 9 feet.
Yeah. Holy cow.
Yeah.
My brother threw me out of a window. But that's it.
Okay.
Uh,
Fine, just make it about about you?
Was it VJ? It was VJ?
Yeah, he told me the house was on fire and opened my parents' window and threw me out the window. That's all.
And the relationship still is going strong.
We're best friends.
But yeah, I should have
Never had
died then.
another
Didn't
problem.
die.
Pretty
That's
close.
fun. And then CPS was. This is the first time that CPS was in my life because I guess a month later I jumped off a rock because my brother said he'd catch me and then I jumped off the opposite side. So I broke my leg. And CPS was like, all right, what's going on over here? First, your child fell out of a window. Now she is a cast. Are you sure everything's okay?
Don't worry. That was the same with my family, too. Like, they pulled my mom aside one time, or my brother aside one time, and they were like, is your mom? Because she's been in here, like, a couple times this year. Is your mom beating her?
Exactly.
So, okay, you fall out of this window. So you're saying that, like, you feel like your grandfather definitely, like, kind of, like, had a shield around you?
I mean, yeah, I don't know if it's my grandfather. He's the one person that I feel like would have been there, especially with my dad and his involvement and all that. I don't remember it because I was so young, but I know that I should not have survived that. I know 100%.
With as little injuries. I mean, the fact that you didn't have, like, a broken bone or needed
or I
stitches.
wasn't paralyzed.
Or, yeah, concussion.
I don't
like
even know how
anything.
I could have fallen to be fine, because even if I like hit the bottom like on my butt, like that should have like messed up my spine or
Well,
something.
and how do you fall out a window butt first?
I have no idea.
Especially if you were like waving and you fell forward.
Yeah, you would
through it.
have to have gone like head first or
Unless
at
you
least, like
did a front
Superman
flip.
down.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I've thought about it a million times. I have no idea physics, Haley. Like how
Unless you
did
did a front flip.
How did I? How?
I have no idea.
Yeah, you could have done a somersault.
I could tell you how hard
Somersault.
you hit the
You could have
impact
somersaulted.
velocity. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, like she would have had the momentum fall like that. The center of gravity must have been
Your brother pushed you.
same.
It all makes sense now.
I know, seriously. Like, I do feel like there are times that, like,
Yeah.
Well, when I was born, my mom. Okay, so my mom was kind of like, I was kind of a very fast baby. Like I was like, shoot, baby. Okay.
yeah.
So all of a
Your
sudden,
seconds usually are.
yeah, my mom was completely fine, and they were in the hospital because she knew she was in labor. And she told me, she was like, all of a sudden I got like everybody was like, all right, we're going to let Kim sleep. Like she's not like no dilation, no nothing going on, like just bad contractions. Like we need to let her sleep type of situation. Like,
Before this baby comes out.
yeah. So they were like, we know what's coming. It's just not going to happen for a little bit. So everybody left. Like I'm talking, she was alone in her room. She was like kind of falling asleep, but then she was like wide awake. All of a sudden she just was like popped out of bed. And she was like, I was just in immense pain for like 2 seconds of just like contractions, like, oh, yep, this baby's coming now type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I just all of a sudden had this warm wash where I was completely warm with my eyes closed. And she was like, all of a sudden I heard my grandfather's voice. And my grandfather died in like 98. And this is like 2000.
Her grandfather or her dad?
Her grandfather.
Her grandfather, okay.
And he died in 98.
Oh,
And this
yeah,
is like 2000. And she just got this warm wash. And she just heard him go like, hey, Kim, like I'm here. Like, don't open your eyes because then I have to go. Which, sorry, chills.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
And he was like, basically was like, it's going to get really, really scary really, really quickly. But just know, like, Haley will be fine. Like, she's going to be, your daughter is going to be okay. And I know she's going to be okay. I know I will watch her. I'm going to be here for her. She's going to be okay. Which, like, if you know me, like, it's a running joke that I have, like, I'm clairvoyant, like, with my friends.
Right, yeah.
Like, I don't
No,
believe...
Dad.
Yeah.
Dad, you could literally do like 2 podcasts of
just-
of your stories.
Dad.
Dad,
I was gonna say no, Haley. You're definitely clear.
Dad.
Just let that fall out that window.
Dad.
It's all starting to like make sense here.
But then, and he was just like, he told her, he's just like, just stay calm. You're going to be okay. She's going to be okay. Just stay calm. It's going to be scary. It's going to be quick, but stay calm. And he was like, okay, I got to go. And then all of a sudden she got really cold and the pain was back. And she hopped out of bed and she realized, she realized,
About the dad thing.
I'm keeping that in.
She's ready to get down. Keep dad.
Honestly.
Back to the time that you.
I was born, my birth story, my origin story. And basically she got up and she couldn't reach the call button to like call for help that I was coming out.
Yeah, like
you know.
yeah, I need to push. I can't push. I need to push. Yes,
Yeah.
that's what happens. Like you literally feel like you like your dad's calling me. Need to like that's a feeling. How you know like you're crowning. You feel like you need to push something out of your body.
And so then by chance this like I can't remember if the story goes that my grandmother came and was like, I need to go check on Kim. Like, I need to check on Kim. Something's not right. So my grandmother, like, brought a nurse to the door. And the nurse is like, are you all right? She's like, this baby is coming now. And the nurse is like, you're crazy. And, like, no, it's not. Like, you were fine 2 minutes ago. Like,
you
there's
weren't
no
even
way.
close to dilation.
Yeah, there's no way.
You're at a 5?
There's no way. There's no way. Anyways, and then all of a sudden, like, the doctor was coming, like, making his rounds. And he said that he got a really weird feeling, too. And he was like, what's going on? And the nurse was like, this woman says she's in labor. And the doctor goes, if this woman says she's in labor, she's in labor, dog. Go get the towels. And then I was born and I was choking. Like, everybody was like, oh, she's so cute. Like, she's so cute. And everybody's looking at me. And my dad
Babies
goes,
are not cute. Sorry.
they're wet
No,
raisins.
they can. They can be.
They're wet raisins. I was adorable, actually.
Yeah.
But most babies are wet raisins.
Yeah, my brother, ugly. Now he's like super handsome, but yeah.
Like when they first pop out,
I believe it.
Wet raisins.
Wet raisins. But my dad goes, like, trying to look over all these people to see his daughter. And he's like, hey, she's not breathing. I don't know if you noticed, but she's turning blue.
Your dad.
Yeah.
Go figure.
He's just like,
Very
something's
calm,
not right
collective.
here.
Yeah, can somebody help my child here?
I think she's turning blue. I think. I could be wrong. Babies could just be born blue. But this ain't my first rodeo.
It's my second.
It's my second. And then futuristic.
Never happening
more.
again. 5 kids later.
But, yep. And then I wasn't breathing, and then I was, and now I'm fine. And the fact that I'm talking is...
No, thank God for Grandpa, though.
Yeah, and my mom said that the only reason she could stay calm during
the light just flickered again.
That's because the air conditioning just kicked in.
Okay.
Don't worry.
the...
There is a difference, though, in this house.
Yeah, no, 100%.
No,
we
I've
could do
seen
a
some
whole few
shit.
episodes on this house.
No, trust me, there's gonna be a couple episodes about Haley's clairvoyance because that shit's
And the missing
real.
items.
Yeah.
The missing items,
Missing
the rocks
items.
on the window.
Oh, yeah. The footprints on my floor, the broken glass, yep.
The
Anyways.
washer dryer flying open, the fact that I've seen something in this house and nothing has ever happened to me in my life, and then I start becoming friends with Haley, and now my life is it's a fun time. Yep, I believe in ghosts.
Is this why Riker doesn't like to go upstairs by himself?
Riker doesn't like going upstairs?
He said he's afraid of the drawers opening.
Oh, what the fuck?
And I go, have you seen drawers opening? He goes, no. But birds like drawers. They're fascinated with drawers. And I was like, so you've never seen a drawer open on its own? And he goes, no. I go, that doesn't happen. You're okay. Because you know your dad's like, suck it up. Get upstairs. And I was like, yeah, don't worry. That's not going to happen.
You're like, what
I'm like,
the fuck?
did the door really open?
Oh, I've seen some
shit.
this household.
We gonna get into it.
Yeah. I learned a lot.
Me too. Thank you for coming.
Yes. Thank you for being our first interviewee on this Two Forks and an Anthill podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for listening to my story.
Of course. We will see you next time.
Peace out, Home Scouts. Hey guys, Haley again here to close out this episode. And for anyone who may be listening for this guidance, maybe for yourself, a friend, or you just want to be educated, there are resources. So just to clarify, these are all informational helplines and cannot see patients, provide any treatments, or provide a diagnosis or any other medical help besides just information. So you can call 1-800-311-BABY or 1-800-311-2229. This is a toll-free telephone number, and they will connect you with your health department in your area code. There is also Office of Women's Health, which you can go online and in general find all things on women's health at womenshealth.gov. And for the pregnancy page, you can just look up womenshealth.gov/pregnancy, and you can also call a helpline at 1-800-994-9662, and their hours are from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday through Fridays. We also highly recommend that you do reach out to your family doctor. They can tell you about screenings, they can give you referrals to other doctors that are super important, and they will work with you on a personal level. That we recommend that you, again, reach out to your family doctor. Lastly, we'd like to mention Planned Parenthood. We know it's very controversial, but it is still an important option for information and resources for those in need. It's more than just parenthood, but it's also exams, treatments, and minor procedures such as breast exams, cervical cancer screenings, infertility, mammogram referrals, pap tests, UTI testing and treatments, vaginal infections and testing, treatments, and other women's health services that are super important to keeping yourself healthy. They also give a great deal of information on consent, safe sex, masturbation, gender identity, sexual orientation, and steps, and more resources to help those in need, and you can find them at PlannedParenthood.org.